Give me 101 uncone/fascinating facts about airplanes. Each fact must be strictly 50 above words. The sky, so endlessly blue and silent, becomes a gentle pathway for aeroplanes, and it's curious to know that at high altitudes, they glide through air that's thinner and colder than Antarctica's surface, yet passengers feel none of it, tucked safely in a cabin warmed and pressurized like a cozy little floating room above the clouds. There is something quietly fascinating in knowing that the scent inside an aeroplane, a slightly metallic, recirculated smell, is actually the result of ultra-cleaned, filtered air mixed with gentle hints of ozone and materials from the cabin, creating a uniquely tranquil fragrance that people often associate with travel, distance, and a world slowly drifting by below. When airplanes fly through clouds, they aren't just passing through vapor, they're gently parting microscopic droplets suspended in the atmosphere, and some pilots say it feels like slowly swimming through cotton, a sensation where vision softens and the world outside becomes wrapped in the embrace of a cool, white dream. Despite their vast wings and roaring engines, aeroplanes move with such steady grace across the sky that passengers barely feel the ground slipping away. And within moments, cities shrink to toy-sized dots, and rivers begin to look like silver threads delicately woven into the Earth's quiet fabric. In the hush of night flights, when the lights are dimmed and the world outside is nothing but stars and sky, some aeroplanes emit a faint, high-pitched hum, an almost meditative tone that comes from air systems and electronics, softly humming like a lullaby designed for those cradled high above the clouds. Airplanes are designed with curved wings not just for lift, but to dance with the wind in the most efficient way, creating pockets of lower pressure above the wing and gently lifting the craft upwards, as though the sky itself is welcoming the aircraft with invisible hands guiding it gently along. Sometimes, in the quiet hum of flight, tiny ice crystals begin to form on the outer windows, painting delicate frost patterns like nature's whispering artwork, silently appearing and melting without sound. An elegant reminder of how aeroplanes travel between worlds of warmth and cold, light and shadow, land and sky. Though modern cockpits are filled with screens and digital guidance, pilots still train for the calm use of analog instruments, navigating by stars or maps if ever needed, linking modern flight with the wisdom of those who first trusted the sky, where every dial and needle tells a story written in the language of the air. It's a soothing thought that aeroplanes are struck by lightning far more often than people think, roughly once a year per plane, but they're built to embrace it gently, channeling the energy safely through their frame, so all passengers feel is a soft flicker or blink, while the sky plays its quiet electric games. In every commercial flight, the cabin is pressurized to feel like standing on a peaceful mountain nearly 8,000 feet high, where the air is just a bit thinner, encouraging passengers to slow their breath, rest deeply, and feel the slight dreaminess that altitude and silence together softly bring into the body. During long night flights, pilots sometimes dim the cabin lights not just for ambience, but to help our eyes adjust more naturally in case of any unexpected event. Yet it also turns the cabin into a serene, star-like sanctuary, glowing faintly while the darkness outside gently cradles the aircraft's path. The quiet miracle of takeoff involves engines moving at thousands of revolutions per minute, flaps adjusting by mere degrees, and a million lines of code cooperating in harmony. Yet to the human body, it feels like a gentle push, a soft recline, and the gradual lifting away from everything earthly below. High in the sky, passengers often fly above the weather, above the storms, the rain, the snow, and in this space of stillness, the sun can be shining brightly even as a storm rages silently below, creating a strange serenity where the aircraft becomes a quiet observer of the Earth's more dramatic moods. Airplanes travel so fast, often over 900 kilometers per hour, but because they move smoothly and steadily, the sensation is less of speed and more of gliding, as though the craft is drifting along an invisible stream of air, wrapped in soft murmurs of wind and distance beyond the rushing of daily life. Some aircraft windows have small holes near the bottom, known as bleed holes, and while they seem mysterious, they gently equalize pressure between window panes and prevent fogging, tiny unnoticed helpers that ensure clear views and structural safety in silence, like invisible stewards of serenity keeping everything balanced mid-flight. The wings of an aircraft are not rigid but flex gently during flight, swaying ever so slightly like tree branches in wind, a quiet, purposeful motion that helps absorb turbulence, a reminder that even massive machines can move with the grace and flexibility of nature when they float across the heavens. Pilots and flight attendants have their own rhythms of silence and motion during a flight, often moving with a practiced calm, their voices hushed, their gestures smooth, creating an atmosphere where everything feels thoughtfully choreographed. So even in the sky, passengers sense a human grace guiding their invisible path. Jet engines may sound loud from the ground, but inside a plane cruising at 35,000 feet, they settle into a steady, low-frequency hum that lulls many into sleep, a kind of mechanical lullaby, consistent and soft, like a faraway waterfall endlessly pouring into the silence of altitude and dreams. During a sunrise flight, passengers sometimes witness a rare moment where the sun rises twice, once below the horizon, and again reflected in the aircraft's window, creating a mirage-like glow that makes you feel as though you've stepped out of time, watching the light begin twice in a world that's still asleep. Flight crews often use soft, coded phrases to communicate, maintaining calm even in moments of challenge, and their language is designed not just for clarity but for peace, a system where reassurance travels alongside information, ensuring that serenity flows as naturally as the air pumped gently through the cabin vents. Airplanes, especially at cruising altitude, often fly above 75% of the Earth's atmosphere, where the air is thin, silent, and starlight pierces more clearly, so passengers are floating in a quiet, high-up world that's closer to space than ground, a place where dreams and science quietly hold hands. When you gaze out an airplane window and see the curve of the Earth, you're witnessing a gentle truth, that this blue planet is round, soft-edged, and swaddled in air, and in that moment, you're not just flying, you're gently orbiting the quiet embrace of home from above. Contrails, those white lines trailing behind aircraft, are made of frozen water vapor released by engines, tiny ice crystals that slowly scatter into delicate ribbons across the sky, like ghostly signatures that dissolve gently into the blue, leaving no sound, only a fading trace of where the aircraft once quietly passed. Some planes have wings designed with subtle upturned tips called winglets, and though they seem decorative, they actually reduce drag and fuel use, showing how even small curves, gently placed, can ease movement through the invisible sky and help the aircraft glide more kindly through its path. On certain polar flights, passengers may see the aurora dancing below them rather than above, as the plane cuts through magnetic skies, turning windows into quiet observatories of green and purple light, gently swirling like dream fragments across the velvet hush of the upper world. During long-haul flights, the route is never a straight line on the map. It curves with the Earth's shape, taking the aircraft along what's called a great circle path, which feels almost poetic. The shortest distance is a curved embrace around the planet, not a rigid march across its skin. Even the seat you choose can bring a kind of quiet. Window seats offer the vastness of sky and the soft flicker of stars, while aisle seats invite ease and gentle movement, and each one becomes its own tiny cocoon in the hush of a traveling cabin gently humming through the night. Cargo aircraft often fly through the same skies as passenger planes, silently carrying life-saving medicines, warm blankets, delicate flowers, or even sleepy zoo animals to new homes, reminding us that the sky holds not just travel, but countless acts of quiet kindness flying softly through the air. Every part of a commercial aircraft is rigorously tested for thousands of hours before it ever lifts from the ground, and that quiet preparation means that when you finally settle into your seat, every rivet, wire, and bolt has already proven its ability to keep you safely floating through sky and stillness. When turbulence shakes a flight gently, it's not danger, but the atmosphere's version of waves, soft ripples in the sea of air, and aircraft are designed to flow with them, like a boat that rises and falls with calm resilience on a sleeping ocean of invisible wind. Air traffic controllers, though unseen, guide flights with a kind of whispered choreography, gently speaking to pilots across miles of sky, ensuring that every plane moves with awareness and grace, like stars being softly arranged across the dark dome of night by steady, watchful hands. The exterior of an aeroplane can become colder than minus 60 degrees Celsius during flight, yet inside, a passenger might be sipping warm tea, wrapped in a blanket, listening to soft music, existing in a suspended moment of peace, nestled within metal and motion, completely untouched by the cold just outside. During overnight flights, cabin crew often move softly through the aisles like shadows, checking quietly on passengers, adjusting lights, or offering water, creating a feeling of being cared for without words, where attention comes not through sound but presence, like a lullaby made of glances and the gentle hush of altitude. The quiet whoosh you hear when cabin doors close isn't just the sound of sealing. It's a slow pressurization and air seal process that turns the inside of the aircraft into its own little world, calm, controlled, and completely separate from the rushing, high-altitude environment just outside its sleek metal skin. At night, many pilots switch the cockpit lights off or to a dim red glow, allowing their eyes to adjust to the darkness and better see the stars. So sometimes, as passengers sleep, the pilots above are watching constellations rise and fall, flying through a starry map drawn in silence and wonder. The autopilot systems used during cruise are so precise that they can maintain heading, altitude, and speed for hours with only soft corrections. And while the pilots remain fully present, much of the flight becomes a partnership between man and machine, gliding through the atmosphere with minimal movement or noise. When an aircraft descends slowly toward landing, the feeling of your ears popping is the body gently adjusting to changing pressure, a reminder that even within this marvel of speed and altitude, the body remains sensitive, quietly adapting, gently syncing with the rhythm of returning to Earth. Airlines often choose music for boarding and disembarking that's been carefully selected to calm nerves and relax passengers, with slow tempos and gentle melodies, creating a kind of musical cradle that eases travelers into or out of their journey, quietly surrounding their emotions in softness and familiarity. The paint used on aircraft is specially designed to be thin, smooth, and incredibly light, just enough to give a polished white glow while keeping the plane efficient, and that pale color also reflects sunlight gently, helping regulate temperature and turning the plane into a serene silhouette against the deep blue sky. The cabin of a plane shrinks distances in ways that feel magical. Places once days apart become hours away, and people sleep above oceans and wake up in new countries, all while wrapped in dimmed lighting, soft murmurs, and the comforting repetition of flight attendants' quiet, reassuring footsteps. Some of the earliest female aviators described flying as feeling like being carried in the arms of the wind, and today, even in massive jets, that same sensation remains, a moment when gravity loosens and the aircraft lifts softly, effortlessly, as if the planet itself has chosen to let go for a while. If you've ever noticed the tips of airplane wings slightly bouncing during turbulence, it's not cause for worry. It's actually a sign of the plane's flexibility, absorbing the movements of the sky like a treat, swaying gently in the breeze, adapting and flowing instead of resisting, keeping everything calm and safe. Pilots receive weather updates from specialized meteorologists who study jet streams, turbulence layers, and storm cells, crafting a forecast not for cities or land, but for the invisible rivers of air that planes will float upon, an entire science dedicated to guiding aircraft through skypaths we cannot see, but pilots quietly follow. A Boeing 787 Dreamliner adjusts its cabin humidity slightly higher than older aircraft, making the air less dry and more comfortable. Subtle enough that you may not notice, but gentle on skin and lungs, making long flights feel less dehydrating and a bit more like resting in a very high, very quiet hotel. Flight attendants often perform silent safety checks as passengers sleep, walking slowly, eyes gently scanning the cabin, checking latches and lights, small acts of vigilance that go unnoticed, ensuring a layer of watchfulness under the surface of stillness, so your sleep is protected even when you are unaware of it. When aircraft descend through layers of clouds, they sometimes pass through multiple temperatures in minutes, creating rings of condensation, swirling frost, or sunbursts through mist, all visible for only a few moments through the window, like watching weather paint soft brushstrokes across sky and light before dissolving into quiet again. Most aircraft interiors are designed with soft, rounded edges, not just for safety, but to create a visual calm that reduces stress, encouraging restfulness with flowing shapes, muted colors, and ambient lighting that adjusts like the sky does, gently changing as the flight progresses, mimicking nature in a quiet, artificial dawn and dusk. Every airplane has a black box, which is actually bright orange for visibility, and it records everything with profound patience and silence, always listening, always watching, always ready, yet rarely needed, a loyal witness to every flight that quietly keeps its memories safe in case they're ever called upon. There are quiet rituals in flight that many find soothing, placing a bag in the overhead bin, adjusting a blanket, reading the safety card, and these small routines, repeated across thousands of flights each day, form a kind of human rhythm in the sky, grounding people in comfort while the earth falls away beneath them. When flying over oceans, passengers are often thousands of kilometers from the nearest land, yet the experience is deeply peaceful because despite the remoteness, you're surrounded by carefully planned systems, redundant paths, and the presence of trained professionals who guide you across the blue with an almost invisible, gentle confidence. The air an aircraft engine takes in during flight is compressed, spun, ignited, and released at incredible speed. Yet inside the cabin, the result is not fire or fury, but motion and music. The hum of progress, the quiet of altitude, the sense of movement that carries you without effort or fear. It's remarkable to know that every flight path is part of an enormous, invisible ballet. Planes moving across the sky in carefully spaced corridors, with altitudes assigned, speeds monitored, and paths coordinated like starlit lines of a soft, cosmic dance, choreographed not for show, but for serenity and safety. Modern aircraft wings often hide tiny, retractable spoilers and flaps, like feathers that adjust in mid-flight, rising or falling slightly to manage airflow, so that the aircraft remains smooth, level, and responsive, using movements so gentle they're rarely felt, just seen occasionally flicking in the corner of a window view. When you fly through night skies, stars often seem brighter, clearer, more vivid, because you're above most atmospheric distortion, with fewer lights below to interfere. And in those high, dark skies, even familiar constellations seem more intimate, like old friends whispering to you as you glide silently through their sparkling domain. The rounded windows on planes aren't just for beauty. They're shaped to distribute pressure evenly and reduce the chance of stress fractures, making the cabin safer and stronger, proving that curves, so often associated with calm and gentleness, are also quietly powerful when holding back the forces of altitude and speed. In the gentle world of aircraft hydraulics, massive systems of movement, like landing gear and flaps, are powered by tiny flows of fluid moving under pressure, whispering through pipes and valves, transforming silent liquid into graceful motion, so the plane can move with strength and smoothness even at thousands of feet. On long-haul flights, pilots often switch controls between each other not with commands but with soft phrases and subtle acknowledgments, part of a tradition of clear but calm communication that keeps minds rested, hands ready, and the cockpit wrapped in a working silence, broken only by the quiet voice of air traffic control. Some aircraft have tail cameras that, when viewed on the in-flight screens, show the plane soaring through clouds or into sunsets from a bird's perspective, turning a simple seat into a floating observatory where passengers can watch their journey not just forward, but from above, like a peaceful dream watching itself unfold. The moment just before touchdown is filled with quiet precision, landing gear lowering, flaps extended, engines adjusting thrust, all choreographed to meet the runway gently, and when done perfectly, the wheels kiss the earth with barely a sound, making the return to land feel like waking slowly from a high, weightless dream. The cabin pressure systems on planes are so subtly designed that they adjust constantly with altitude shifts, balancing internal air to match external change, like invisible lungs breathing in sync with the sky, ensuring the body feels little difference, even as the aircraft rises through layers of Earth's protective blanket. During long nighttime flights over oceans or deserts, passengers may look out and see no lights below, just inky darkness. But above, stars stretch endlessly, and in that moment, it can feel as though the aircraft floats between worlds, not quite part of Earth, not yet space, but resting in the quiet in-between. There are hundreds of airspeed, altitude, and position checks happening silently during any flight, most of which go unnoticed by passengers, each one a quiet affirmation that all systems are well, that every coordinate is known, and that the journey continues safely under a layer of calm vigilance. Some aircraft are designed to land almost entirely by computer in low visibility conditions, using gentle radio signals from the ground and instruments on board to align with the runway, a delicate trust between machine and sky, between invisible signals and tangible land, guiding the plane softly back to Earth's embrace. Cabin lights are dimmed during takeoff and landing not only for ambience but to gently prepare passengers' eyes for any sudden changes in light, so the body stays naturally attuned, allowing for a soft visual transition, like dusk descending before a dream, even when the world outside is filled with motion and momentum. Modern aircraft are so aerodynamically refined that even at cruising speeds of nearly 900 kilometers per hour, they generate less drag than early cars did at highway speeds, showing how science and silence can combine, allowing humans to drift high above the earth in machines that move with the ease and elegance of gliding birds. Every airline meal is carefully prepared and slightly over-seasoned. Because at high altitudes, our taste buds become less sensitive due to lower pressure and drier air, and that tiny adjustment, made quietly in catering kitchens far away, ensures the food still tastes full and familiar even in the thinnest layers of the sky. Flight decks are designed to be calm, ergonomic spaces with large windows and gentle lighting, creating an atmosphere of clarity for pilots, where instruments glow softly in the dark, and every decision feels more like guiding than commanding, as though steering the aircraft is more an act of attention than control. Aircraft cabins are fitted with specialized insulation that muffles the roar of engines and air rushing past, so passengers hear mostly soft tones, low hums, and muffled murmurs, transforming a powerful technological feat into a floating meditative cocoon that carries people over continents without ever disturbing their thoughts or their dreams. The gently curved path an airplane traces on a flight tracker reflects Earth's roundness, called a Great Circle route, and although it may look longer on a flat map, it's the most natural and efficient way to move between distant places, like a soft arc drawn lovingly by gravity itself. When a pilot announces altitude, it's not just a number. It's a reminder that you're floating above cities, mountains, even storms, with more than 5 miles of air beneath you and more than 5 miles of sky above, cradled exactly in the middle, like a quiet feather balanced in the breath of the earth. The motion of a plane's flaps as it prepares to land may look mechanical, but each movement is a precisely timed act of grace, guiding airflow, adjusting lift, and slowing descent, like a dancer's slow bow before touching the stage, ensuring that every return to Earth is not just safe, but deeply gentle. Though passengers rarely feel it, an aircraft constantly adjusts its position in 3 dimensions: pitch, roll, and to stay balanced amid changing winds and atmospheric layers, like a tightrope walker using subtle shifts to stay centered, ensuring each moment in the sky remains calm, even when invisible forces gently nudge from below. There's a peaceful comfort in knowing that aircraft tires are tested to withstand over 200 miles per hour on landing, and many flights a day, yet they touch down so smoothly that most passengers don't even notice, proof that something built for pressure can still arrive with perfect softness. Pilots often describe clouds as landmarks of the sky, large cumulus masses like floating mountains, thin cirrus wisps like smoke trails of dreams, and when navigating between them, the aircraft moves not with resistance, but with accommodation, flowing through them like a gentle stream winding through misty morning air. Airplane fuselages are gently pressurized from within during flight, expanding ever so slightly to accommodate altitude, like lungs breathing in slowly and carefully, reminding us that even metal can flex with grace when it's part of something made to fly through layers of air rather than hold firm against them. Even in crowded airspace, the vertical separation between planes is thousands of feet, ensuring a vast buffer of safety that passengers never see. So while you might feel close to the stars, you're also cocooned in the most carefully spaced ballet of motion humanity has ever designed, dancing in invisible harmony across the sky. Some airports are so quiet at night that flights pass in almost total silence, with only soft runway lights blinking in the darkness and controllers speaking in low, measured tones, so that even takeoffs and landings become part of the stillness, like whispers crossing a velvet field of lights and fog. In the flight's final moments before landing, there's a quiet shift. The nose tilts gently, flaps extend, and a soft mechanical whir blends with anticipation. And then sometimes, the wheels kiss the runway so lightly that you barely notice you're on the ground, until the brakes bring you back gently to the present. Aircraft engineers often say that the most beautiful designs are the ones where passengers feel least, where the ride is smooth, the cabin is hushed, and the movements are imperceptible, like building a wind-borne cradle, designed not to impress but to disappear into the background of a very peaceful journey. At cruising altitude, the air outside is so cold and thin that water would freeze instantly. Yet inside the cabin, with its soft lighting and warm air, passengers rest with tea, blankets, and books, wrapped in a pocket of comfort that defies the elements just centimeters beyond the window pane. Though technology allows for faster travel than ever before, flight remains timeless in feeling, a place where hours blend, clocks lose meaning, and passengers drift between destinations as if wrapped in a pause between chapters, neither here nor there, but quietly suspended in the comfort of the sky's long exhale. When flying over deserts, the landscape below often appears like art. Vast brush strokes of orange, gold, and rust carve into endless sand, and from above, these patterns stretch in silence, a gentle reminder of how time, wind, and solitude shape the world beneath, without a sound, while we quietly pass above. The subtle pop and shift of your ears on descent is your body softly aligning with Earth's embrace again, responding to the unseen change of pressure with quiet adaptation, like a flower closing with the setting sun, preparing once more to touch the ground after hours spent gently drifting through sky. Flight attendants often speak in soft, rhythmic patterns, chosen not just for clarity but for calm, so that even in unfamiliar environments, their voice becomes a constant, a guide, a moment of reassurance, reminding each passenger that there's always someone awake, alert, and gently watching over them at every stage of the skybound journey. Some passengers sleep so soundly during flights that they awake disoriented, not remembering the takeoff, unaware of the miles crossed, unsure if it was dream or travel. And in that beautiful confusion, flight becomes something magical, a passage not through space, but through time, wrapped in a hush of mechanical lullabies. In-flight announcements are intentionally brief and soothing, with long pauses and gentle tone, especially during nighttime, because in the realm of sleep and altitude, less is more, and words are chosen carefully so they land softly in the ears of passengers resting between sky and stars. The curve of an aircraft's nose is shaped to pierce the air efficiently, but it's also part of the plane's character, elegant and assured, not aggressive, serving as the point that leads all else through the sky, carving a path of calm and forward motion through even the thinnest layers of atmosphere. The scent of jet fuel on the tarmac may seem strong, but high above, the air is filtered and clean, with no hint of engines or machinery, just pressurized silence, dry and still, like floating in a sealed glass globe where movement is swift but experience is slow and deeply quiet. When flying near dawn, the cabin slowly fills with gentle pink and gold hues from the rising sun, and shadows begin to stretch across tray tables and walls, turning the interior into a kind of flying chapel, illuminated not by design but by the quiet poetry of light filtering from the horizon. Even with all our technology, weather is still the one partner pilots must listen to with respect and humility. Clouds, winds, and pressure systems become spoken with reverence, decoded gently, and responded to with care, as though the aircraft is in a constant conversation with the invisible moods of the sky. There are aircraft that circle the globe without stopping, carrying cargo, scientists, or data, and they move in long looping paths, barely noticed from below, but up there, they remain like silent sentinels, always watching, always listening, quietly performing their duties far above the busy world, like ghosts of flight that never land. From the sky, borders disappear, cities blur, and oceans stretch into endless patterns, reminding those on board that Earth is not divided by lines, but softened by clouds, rivers, and coastlines, flowing gently into one another, seen as a unified whole from the quiet altitude where only the sky keeps you company. The life of an aircraft isn't measured only in hours or distance, but in cycles, each takeoff and landing counted like heartbeats, so the plane becomes a creature of rhythm, rising and returning over and over, in a dance with gravity that feels more like breathing than brute force. During low-visibility landings, some runways use lights that gradually brighten as the plane approaches, guiding pilots like a lighthouse in fog, so that even when vision is limited, a soft glow leads them gently home, one beam at a time, through layers of cloud and mist. When the plane taxis slowly to its gate after landing, there's often a hush, the engines quiet, the cabin still dim, and people just beginning to stir, as though the aircraft itself is sighing after a long, graceful journey, pausing before gently letting its passengers step back into the world. Pilots often use the phrase smooth ride when requesting altitude changes from air traffic control, gently seeking calmer air above or below. Because even when invisible, the sky has its textures, and skilled pilots know how to find the softer currents, where the aircraft can float more peacefully in its journey. Though planes fly faster than sound at times relative to the Earth's spin, Inside the cabin, everything feels unrushed. Time elongates, thoughts wander, sleep comes easily. And in that contradiction, you find the magic of flight, a place where speed creates stillness and distance invites deep rest. In some rare moments during long flights, a strange silence can settle. No announcements, no service carts, just the steady hum and a dim glow. And within that space, passengers enter a shared dream, suspended thousands of feet above the world, where no one speaks, but everyone feels the quiet together. While aircraft are high above storms, passengers might see flashes of lightning far below. Silent, soft bursts of light flickering through cloud banks, turning the window into a theater of the sky, where nature performs its electric lullaby and the plane continues on unaffected, like a quiet witness to beauty and distance. Many airplanes have a special coating on their windows that reflects ultraviolet light, protecting passengers while letting them enjoy the view. So every time you gaze out over clouds, you're watching the earth while being gently shielded, wrapped in an invisible safety net that guards you softly from the sun. The sounds you hear before takeoff, the thumps, whirs, and hydraulic murmurs, are part of the aircraft's checks and balances, systems quietly preparing for the sky, like an orchestra tuning its instruments, each note a whisper that says, "All is ready, all is working, let the journey begin in peace." Even the tray table in front of you is designed with quiet in mind. It folds softly, clicks gently, and holds without rattling, because everything within the cabin, no matter how small, is built not just to function, but to do so with as little disturbance as possible, honoring the shared silence of flight. The pressurized cabin of an aircraft is like an artificial valley in the sky, its own miniature atmosphere, stable and serene, created so that humans can move between continents without discomfort, breathing and resting within a floating oasis that protects from the extremes just beyond the fuselage walls. Flight planning happens hours before passengers board. Routes are traced, winds are studied, fuel is calculated, and all of this occurs in quiet offices and digital spaces, so that by the time the plane lifts off, it is simply following a plan made in calm intention and quiet care, like tracing a path drawn in light. The seatbelt sign, a tiny illuminated symbol above your head, isn't just a reminder. It's a whisper of caution, a small guiding light that flickers on when needed, glowing gently to say, "Hold still, stay grounded, the sky is shifting, but all is under control." Some aircraft interiors are now designed with mood lighting that changes through the flight, mimicking the sunrise, daylight, sunset, and dusk, so the body adjusts gently to time zones and light, even while the earth rushes past below, making the journey feel less like travel and more like a natural flow through hours and hues. When the plane finally parks at the gate and the engines power down, there's a moment of true silence, the end of motion, the exhale of the aircraft, and in that stillness, as cabin lights return and seatbelts click open, you realize the miracle has ended, not with drama, but with quiet grace. From takeoff to landing, every flight is supported by thousands of people behind the scenes, technicians, dispatchers, engineers, weather analysts, all working in silence to ensure safety and calm, so that even while you sleep in the sky, an entire symphony of care continues to hum quietly in the background. There's something poetic about the fact that a plane must first speed up to lift off the ground, yet must slow down to return to it, like dreams that require momentum to begin, but need softness to end. Each flight a metaphor for motion and tension and the gentle return to stillness. Though you can't hear it, the airflow over the wings creates a delicate pressure difference that gently lifts the aircraft upward, a silent miracle of physics happening millions of times per second. Yet all passengers feel is a soft tilt, a rising hum, and the quiet joy of floating where once we only dreamed of flying. There's a small but comforting detail hidden beneath the seats on most aircraft. Life vests tucked away, never used by most, always present. And though they're rarely needed, their quiet presence reminds us that care has been taken, that even in the sky, thoughtfulness surrounds us in layers of safety and stillness. On certain transcontinental flights, passengers may chase the sun for hours, flying westward so swiftly that sunset never arrives, bathing the cabin in eternal golden light, as though time itself has paused for the journey, offering an endless afternoon in the sky, where clocks slow and everything moves to the rhythm of hush and wonder. Sometimes on long-haul night flights, the cabin grows so still that it feels like floating through space itself. Only the dim aisle lights remain, like tiny stars in a metal constellation, while everyone sleeps side by side in a quiet unity, held safely in the hands of sky and machine. The wing of an aircraft isn't just a structure, it's a constantly adjusting, responding, intelligent surface that adapts to wind, lift, drag, and balance, making hundreds of tiny corrections without being seen or heard, like a gentle hand keeping everything level while the aircraft glides peacefully through invisible rivers of air.